1. The shadow's hidden desires, lust as the unacknowledged self. The burden of being chosen is not merely the weight of destiny, it is the burden of self-awareness. Those who walk the path of higher purpose, whether as spiritual seekers, intellectual pioneers, or visionary leaders, are often acutely conscious of their inner world. They sense their potential, their flaws, and the vastness of their aspirations. Yet, as Jung taught, this heightened awareness comes with a shadow, a dark mirror reflecting everything we reject, repress, or fear within ourselves. For chosen ones, lust often becomes a central occupant of this shadow, a force they dare not acknowledge yet cannot escape. Jung's concept of the shadow is foundational to his psychology. The shadow is not merely a repository of evil or sin. It is the sum of all aspects of the self that remain unintegrated, often because they clash with our conscious ideals. For chosen ones, who frequently aspire to purity, discipline, or transcendence, lust feels like a betrayal of their higher calling. They may see themselves as bearers of light, tasked with guiding others or embodying wisdom, and thus view desire as a base instinct unfit for their lofty goals. Yet, as Jung warned, the shadow is a living part of the personality, and therefore wants to live with it in some form. To deny lust is to deny a piece of their humanity, and the psyche does not tolerate such rejection lightly. This denial creates a paradox. The more chosen ones strive to suppress their desires, the more potent those desires become. Jung observed that what is repressed does not vanish. It festers in the unconscious, gathering strength until it bursts forth in unexpected ways. For the chosen one, this might manifest as intrusive thoughts, vivid dreams, or sudden temptations that seem to arise from nowhere. A monk meditating in solitude might find his mind invaded by sensual images. A philosopher dedicated to reason might be blindsided by an irrational attraction. These are not signs of weakness, but the shadow's insistence on being seen. Consider the archetype of the ascetic, a figure common across spiritual traditions and often associated with chosen ones. The ascetic renounces worldly pleasures to pursue divine truth. Yet history is replete with stories of such figures succumbing to temptation. Jung would argue that their struggle is not a moral failing, but a psychological inevitability. By casting lust into the shadow, they give it power, allowing it to lurk in the corners of their psyche, waiting for moments of vulnerability. The more they strive for perfection, the more their shadow grows, creating an internal war that tests their resolve. Jung's solution to this conflict was not repression, but integration. He believed that the shadow must be confronted and understood, not banished. For chosen ones, this means acknowledging lust as a natural part of their being, neither glorifying nor condemning it. This is no easy task. Society often holds those on a higher path to impossible standards, expecting them to transcend human weakness entirely. The chosen one may fear that admitting their desires will undermine their authority or purpose, forcing them to wage their battle in secret. Yet Jung insisted that true strength lies in facing the shadow head-on. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, he wrote, but by making the darkness conscious. This process of integration is not about indulging lust, but about recognizing its place in the psyche. For the chosen one, lust might represent more than physical desire. It could symbolize a longing for life, vitality, or connection. By exploring these deeper meanings, they begin to disarm the shadow's hold. Jung's work with patients often involved helping them dialogue with their unconscious, personifying their desires to understand their messages. A chosen one might imagine their lust as a figure, a seductress, a tempter, or even a wounded part of themselves, and ask, "What do you want? Why are you here?" Through such inner work, they uncover the hidden needs behind their desires, transforming a source of shame into a source of wisdom. The struggle with lust, then, is not a distraction from the chosen one's path, but a crucial part of it. Jung saw the shadow as a teacher, forcing us to confront our limitations and grow beyond them. For those destined for greatness, lust is a reminder of their humanity, a humbling force that keeps them grounded even as they reach for the stars. By integrating their shadow, chosen ones not only weaken lust's grip, but also unlock a deeper reservoir of strength, creativity, and self-awareness. This is the first reason their struggle is so profound. Lust is not merely a temptation but a gateway to the unacknowledged self, demanding recognition before the journey can continue. The tension between instinct and spirit, the psyche's eternal duel. The chosen one's path is defined by duality, a constant negotiation between the earthly and the divine, the body and the soul. Lust, with its raw intensity, often feels like an intruder in this delicate balance, pulling them toward the physical when their eyes are fixed on the transcendent. Carl Jung saw this conflict as the heart of human existence, a tension between opposites that drives psychological growth. For chosen ones, the struggle with lust is not just a battle against desire. It is a test of their ability to reconcile their primal instincts with their spiritual aspirations. Jung's philosophy hinges on the idea that the psyche thrives on polarity. He wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." The psyche is transformed or developed by the tension of opposites. For chosen ones, this tension is particularly acute. They are often visionaries, driven by a sense of purpose that transcends mundane concerns. Whether they seek spiritual enlightenment, intellectual mastery, or social transformation, their goals elevate them above the ordinary, creating a divide between their higher self and their human nature. Lust, as a primal instinct, becomes a symbol of everything they wish to transcend, yet it refuses to be ignored. This conflict is not unique to chosen ones, but their heightened awareness makes it more intense. Jung believed that consciousness amplifies our perception of inner contradictions. The average person might indulge or suppress their desires without much reflection, but chosen ones, with their introspective nature, cannot escape the war within. They feel the pull of lust as a betrayal of their ideals, a reminder that no matter how lofty their aspirations, they remain tethered to the body. This creates a cycle of guilt and resistance, where every temptation feels like a step backward on their path. Yet Jung would argue that this struggle is not a hindrance, but a necessity. He saw the tension between opposites as the engine of individuation, the process of becoming whole. Lust, in this context, is not an enemy to be vanquished, but a partner in a cosmic dance. By engaging with it, chosen ones learn to navigate the polarity of their nature, finding a middle path between indulgence and denial. Jung's concept of the transcendent function suggests that when opposites are held in tension, a third possibility emerges, a synthesis that transcends both extremes. For chosen ones, this might mean channeling lust's energy into creative or spiritual pursuits, transforming a destructive force into a source of vitality. Consider the archetype of the hero, another figure often associated with chosen ones. In Jungian terms, the hero's journey is not just about external quests, but about inner transformation. The hero often faces temptations, whether a seductress, a forbidden pleasure, or a moment of weakness, that tests their commitment to their goal. Lust, in this sense, is the dragon they must face, not with a sword but with understanding. Jung's work with myths and archetypes reveals that these trials are universal, appearing in every culture's stories of growth and redemption. For chosen ones, lust is their personal dragon, a challenge that forces them to grow stronger or risk being consumed. Jung's insights into alchemy offer further clarity. He saw alchemical processes as metaphors for psychological transformation, with lust representing the prima materia, the raw, chaotic substance that must be refined. Alchemists sought to transmute base metals into gold, just as chosen ones must transmute their base desires into higher forms of expression. This is not about erasing lust, but about redirecting its energy. Jung noted that many spiritual traditions, from Tantra to Christian mysticism, recognize the power of desire as a force that could be harnessed for enlightenment. For chosen ones, the challenge is to master this energy, using it to fuel their creativity, passion, or devotion rather than letting it control them. The tension between instinct and spirit also reflects a broader cultural dynamic. Jung observed that modern society often pits the body against the soul, creating a false dichotomy that leaves individuals fragmented. Chosen ones, with their sensitivity to these cultural currents, feel this split acutely. They may internalize society's judgment of lust as sinful or shameful, adding to their inner conflict. Yet Jung's vision was one of wholeness, not division. He believed that true liberation comes from embracing both sides of our nature, recognizing that the body is as sacred as the spirit. For chosen ones, this means seeing lust not as a flaw, but as a spark of life, a reminder of their vitality in a world that often demands detachment. This second reason underscores why lust is such a potent force for chosen ones. It is the crucible in which their psyche is forged. By wrestling with the tension between instinct and spirit, they learn to balance their human and divine natures, emerging stronger, wiser, and more whole. Lust is not a distraction from their path. It is the path itself, a journey into the heart of what it means to be human. 3. The loneliness of the path and the search for connection. The chosen one's journey is often a solitary one. Whether they are spiritual seekers retreating to the wilderness, intellectuals laboring over ideas that others cannot grasp, or leaders forging paths where none exist, their calling sets them apart from the crowd. This isolation, while empowering, breeds a profound loneliness, a hunger for connection that lust often seeks to fill. Carl Jung, with his deep understanding of the psyche's relational needs, offers insight into why chosen ones struggle with this primal desire and how it reflects a deeper quest for wholeness. Jung believed that humans are inherently relational beings, driven by a need to connect with others and with the divine. His concept of the anima animus, the inner feminine or masculine archetype, suggests that much of our longing is a search for the other within ourselves, a missing piece that completes us. For chosen ones, whose lives are often defined by solitude, this longing becomes amplified. They may feel disconnected from the world around them, misunderstood by those who cannot share their vision. In this void, lust emerges as a powerful force, promising intimacy, validation, or escape from the weight of their isolation. This dynamic is particularly poignant for those who embody archetypal roles like the sage, the prophet, or the wanderer. These figures, central to Jung's study of mythology, are often depicted as solitary, bearing the burden of their wisdom alone. Yet even the most enlightened sage craves connection. Jung noted that the psyche seeks balance, and for those who dwell in the realm of ideas or spirit, the body's desires become a counterweight, pulling them back toward the human world. Lust, in this context, is not merely a physical urge. It is a cry for closeness, a reminder that no one, no matter how chosen, can live in isolation forever. The chosen one's struggle with lust is further complicated by their heightened sensitivity. Jung observed that individuals with a strong connection to the unconscious, often the case for those on a higher path, are more attuned to their inner world, including their desires. This sensitivity makes them acutely aware of their loneliness, amplifying their need for connection. A spiritual leader might find themselves drawn to a follower, not out of base desire, but out of a longing to be seen and understood. An intellectual might crave physical intimacy as a respite from the relentless solitude of their thoughts. In each case, lust disguises itself as a solution, offering temporary relief from the ache of separation. Jung's work with the anima animus offers a deeper layer of understanding. He believed that our attractions often reflect an unconscious projection of this inner archetype onto others. For chosen ones, lust may be less about the object of their desire and more about what that object represents, a missing aspect of themselves. A male visionary, for example, might be drawn to a woman who embodies his anima, his creativity, intuition, or emotional depth, mistaking this inner quest for physical desire. Similarly, a female leader might project her animus, her strength or ambition, onto a partner, seeking to reclaim these qualities through intimacy. Jung's insight suggests that lust is not always what it seems. It is a symbol of the psyche's yearning for integration. This perspective transforms the chosen one's struggle into an opportunity for growth. Jung taught that every desire carries a message from the unconscious, a clue to what the soul seeks. By exploring their lust rather than suppressing it, chosen ones can uncover its deeper meaning. Are they truly seeking physical pleasure, or are they longing for emotional intimacy? Is their desire a rebellion against their solitude, or a call to reconnect with their own vitality? Through such introspection, they begin to distinguish between fleeting gratification and true connection, redirecting their energy toward relationships or pursuits that align with their purpose. Jung also recognized the societal pressures that exacerbate this struggle. Chosen ones are often placed on pedestals, expected to embody perfection and detachment. Admitting their loneliness or desires risks shattering this image, forcing them to hide their humanity. Yet Jung's vision was one of authenticity, not pretense. He believed that true wholeness comes from embracing our vulnerabilities, not denying them. For chosen ones, this means acknowledging their need for connection without shame, recognizing that even the greatest prophets and sages were human, with human longings. This third reason highlights why lust is such a persistent challenge. It is the psyche's response to the loneliness of the chosen one's path. By understanding it as a call for connection, both with others and with the self, they can transform their struggle into a journey of integration, finding solace not in fleeting pleasures, but in the deeper bonds that sustain their soul. 4. The forbidden fruit effect and the power of repression. The chosen one's commitment to their path often demands discipline, sacrifice, and a rejection of worldly distractions. Lust, with its seductive pull, becomes the ultimate test of their resolve, a forbidden fruit that grows more tempting the more it is denied. Carl Jung's psychology reveals why this dynamic is so powerful, showing how repression amplifies desire and traps the psyche in a cycle of conflict. For chosen ones, the struggle with lust is not just a battle against temptation. It is a confrontation with the unintended consequences of their own ideals. Jung's understanding of the psyche emphasizes the principle of compensation. When one aspect of the self is overemphasized, the unconscious pushes back to restore balance. For chosen ones, who often prioritize purity, wisdom, or spiritual transcendence, lust represents the neglected side of their nature, the body, the instinctual, the chaotic. By deeming it unacceptable, they cast it into the unconscious, where it takes on a life of its own. Jung wrote, "What we resist persists, and nowhere is this truer than in the realm of desire." The more chosen ones strive to eradicate lust, the more it haunts them, appearing in dreams, fantasies, or moments of unguarded weakness. This phenomenon, often called the forbidden fruit effect, is rooted in the psyche's response to restriction. Jung observed that the unconscious thrives on paradox. What we forbid ourselves becomes more alluring, not less. For chosen ones, this creates a vicious cycle. They may vow to renounce desire, only to find it growing stronger, fueled by the very act of suppression. A spiritual seeker might spend years in meditation seeking detachment, yet find themselves plagued by sensual visions. An intellectual might dedicate themselves to reason, only to be ambushed by irrational passions. These are not signs of failure, but evidence of the psyche's insistence on wholeness. Jung's work with religious traditions offers insight into this dynamic. He studied the lives of mystics, monks, and ascetics, noting that their rigorous denial of desire often led to intense inner struggles. The Desert Fathers, early Christian hermits, spoke of battles with demons of lust, which Jung interpreted as projections of their repressed shadow. Similarly, in Eastern traditions like Buddhism or Hinduism, practitioners often faced temptations as they neared enlightenment, a sign that their psyche was testing their resolve. For chosen ones, lust is their personal demon, a force that challenges their commitment to their path. The danger of repression lies in its ability to distort the psyche. Jung warned that suppressed desires do not disappear. They transform, often manifesting in destructive ways. For chosen ones, this might mean secret indulgences, hypocritical behavior, or a sudden fall from grace. History is filled with examples of revered figures, spiritual leaders, philosophers, even kings, who succumbed to temptation after years of denial. Jung would argue that their downfall was not due to lust itself, but to their refusal to engage with it consciously. By treating desire as an enemy, they gave it power, allowing it to control them from the shadows. Jung's solution was not to embrace indulgence, but to explore the meaning of desire. He believed that every impulse carries a message from the unconscious, a clue to what the psyche needs. For chosen ones, this means asking difficult questions. Why does lust hold such power over them? What unmet need does it represent? Is it truly about physical pleasure, or is it a longing for freedom, vitality, or connection? Through such inquiry, they begin to dismantle the forbidden fruit effect, reducing lust's allure by bringing it into the light of awareness. This process requires courage, especially for those held to high standards. Society often demands that chosen ones be above human weakness, creating pressure to hide their struggles. Yet Jung's vision was one of authenticity, not perfection. He believed that true strength comes from facing our contradictions, not pretending they don't exist. For chosen ones, this means accepting that lust is part of their journey, a challenge that tests their discipline, but also deepens their wisdom. By confronting it openly, they break the cycle of repression and temptation, finding freedom in understanding rather than denial. This fourth reason reveals why lust is such a formidable adversary. It thrives on the chosen one's attempts to banish it. By recognizing the power of repression, they can shift their approach, treating lust not as a flaw, but as a teacher, guiding them toward a more balanced and authentic self. 5. Lust as raw energy and the path to transmutation. At its core, lust is not a sin or a weakness. It is energy, a primal force that pulses through every living being. For chosen ones, whose lives are defined by purpose and transformation, this energy becomes both a challenge and an opportunity. Carl Jung, with his expansive view of the psyche, saw lust not as an obstacle, but as a raw material for growth. His concept of libido, the psyche's vital energy, offers a framework for understanding why chosen ones struggle with lust and how they can harness it to fuel their destiny. Jung's redefinition of libido was revolutionary. Unlike Freud, who equated it with sexual desire, Jung saw libido as the total life force, encompassing creativity, passion, and the drive for self-realization. Lust, in this view, is one expression of this energy, a powerful current that can either overwhelm or empower. For chosen ones, the struggle with lust is a test of their ability to master this force, directing it toward their higher purpose rather than letting it consume them. This is not about suppressing desire, but about transforming it, a process Jung called sublimation. Sublimation, in Jungian terms, involves redirecting psychic energy from one form to another. For chosen ones, this might mean channeling lust into creative pursuits, art, literature, or innovation, or into spiritual practices like meditation or prayer. Jung noted that many of history's greatest achievements were born from such alchemy. The poet Rumi transformed his longing into ecstatic verse. The artist Michelangelo poured his passion into divine sculptures. For chosen ones, lust is their raw material, a spark that can ignite their work if they learn to wield it wisely. Jung's study of alchemy provides a rich metaphor for this process. Alchemists sought to transmute base metals into gold, a symbol of spiritual enlightenment. Lust, in this analogy, is the prima materia, the chaotic, unrefined substance that holds infinite potential. Chosen ones must become alchemists of their own psyche, refining their desires through conscious effort. This is not a simple task. It requires discipline, self-awareness, and a willingness to engage with the very force they fear. Yet the rewards are profound. By mastering lust, they unlock a wellspring of energy that fuels their creativity, resilience, and growth. The challenge lies in the intensity of this energy. Jung recognized that libido is neither good nor evil. It is neutral, its impact determined by how it is used. For chosen ones, lust can be a double-edged sword. Left unchecked, it leads to distraction, obsession, or even destruction, pulling them away from their path. But when harnessed, it becomes a source of vitality, driving them to achieve what others cannot. Jung's work with patients often involved helping them redirect their energies, turning inner conflicts into productive outlets. A chosen one might channel their desire into a novel, a scientific breakthrough, or a spiritual revelation, transforming a personal struggle into a gift for the world. Jung also drew on spiritual traditions to illustrate this principle. In Tantra, for example, sexual energy is seen as a pathway to enlightenment, a force to be cultivated rather than suppressed. Similarly, in Christian mysticism, figures like Saint Augustine spoke of redirecting earthly passions toward divine love. Jung saw these teachings as psychological truths, recognizing that energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed. For chosen ones, the struggle with lust is an invitation to practice this transformation, learning to wield their inner fire without being burned. This process is not without its risks. Jung warned that transformation requires consciousness. Without it, energy remains chaotic, leading to impulsivity or regret. Chosen ones, with their tendency toward introspection, are uniquely equipped for this task, but they must resist the temptation to judge themselves harshly. Society often labels lust as shameful, especially for those expected to embody wisdom or virtue. Yet Jung's vision was one of acceptance, not condemnation. He believed that every part of the psyche has value, and lust is no exception. By embracing it as energy rather than sin, chosen ones free themselves from guilt, unlocking its potential to enrich their lives. This fifth reason underscores why lust is such a powerful force for chosen ones. It is the raw material of their transformation. By mastering it, they not only overcome temptation but also tap into a source of strength that propels them toward their destiny. Lust is not their enemy, it is their ally, a spark of life that, when understood, becomes one of their greatest assets. The path to liberation, mastering the self. The struggle with lust is not a flaw in the chosen one's journey. It is the journey itself. Carl Jung's psychology reveals that this battle is not about defeating desire, but about understanding it, integrating it, and transforming it into a force for growth. For chosen ones, lust is a teacher, a mirror, and a crucible, guiding them toward the ultimate goal of individuation, the state of becoming whole. In this final reflection, we explore how Jung's wisdom offers a path to liberation, freeing chosen ones from the cycle of temptation and guilt. Jung taught that the psyche seeks wholeness, not perfection. Chosen ones with their lofty ideals often fall into the trap of striving for an unattainable ideal, believing they must eradicate their desires to fulfill their purpose. This approach only deepens their struggle, as repression strengthens the very forces they seek to overcome. Jung's solution is radical in its simplicity. Accept lust as part of the human experience, neither glorifying nor condemning it. This acceptance does not mean indulgence. It means recognizing desire as a natural energy, a spark of life that can be harnessed for higher ends. The process of integration requires courage and humility. Chosen ones must confront their shadow, acknowledging the desires they have hidden from themselves and others. They must navigate the tension between instinct and spirit, finding a balance that honors both their humanity and their divinity. They must explore the loneliness that fuels their longing, seeking true connection rather than fleeting gratification. And they must learn to transmute their energy, channeling lust into creativity, wisdom, or service. Each step is a test, but also a gift, deepening their self-awareness and strength. Jung's concept of individuation offers a roadmap for this journey. He saw it as a lifelong process of becoming one's true self, integrating all aspects of the psyche, light and dark, conscious and unconscious. For chosen ones, lust is a key player in this process, a force that challenges their illusions of control and forces them to grow. By engaging with it consciously, they move closer to the self, the archetype of wholeness that unites all opposites. This is not a destination but a way of being, a state of inner harmony that allows them to fulfill their purpose without being torn apart by inner conflict. The societal pressures on chosen ones make this journey even more complex. They are often expected to embody perfection, their struggles judged harshly by a world that demands flawlessness. Yet Jung's vision is one of authenticity, not pretense. He believed that true greatness comes from embracing our humanity, not denying it. For chosen ones, this means letting go of shame, recognizing that their struggles with lust are not a mark of failure, but a sign of their depth. They are not above desire, they are human, and it is their humanity that makes their journey meaningful. In the end, the struggle with lust is a battle for self-mastery. Jung wrote, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." For chosen ones, lust is the heart they must look into, a mirror reflecting their fears, their longings, and their potential. By awakening to its lessons, they free themselves from its grip, transforming a source of conflict into a source of power. They become not just chosen, but whole, masters of their desires, their purpose, and themselves. This journey is not theirs alone. Every soul wrestles with desire, seeking the wisdom to navigate its currents. If these insights resonate with you, share them with others on their own path of awakening. For in the silent struggles of the chosen, we find the universal truths that guide us all toward liberation.